Let's get things rolling, will we? Oh, first I'll have to share the link with some people. Let's share the link with all the socials. If you're ready. All right. We will need... I think I'm about ready to start recording. Shh. All right, I'll start the recording. And then I need to do the thumbnail, which is going to be fist up. I think that's good enough. All right, I think I'm about to start now. Let's get going. Let me check my mic one last time. Check 1, 2. All right. That's looking good. We're getting ready to start, everybody. Here we go. All right. Who's going to give us the countdown? Oh, this microphone needs to be right about there. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's Reckin' and Rappin', a podcast with a purpose to save humanity and enlighten the dark. I'm your host, King Cooper. How are we going to save humanity? First, you need to realize the power of words have. Next, you got to get your weight up. Learn the powerful words humanity has and how to wield them. For some powerful words, we turn to Shakespeare. Sonnet number 7 compares human life to the rising and setting sun. Here is Shakespeare's sonnet number 7. Lo, in the Orient, when the gracious light lifts head, each under eye doth homage to his new appearing sight, serving with looks his sacred majesty, and having climbed the steep up heavenly hill, resembling strong youth in his middle age, yet mortal looks adore his beauty still, attending on his golden pilgrimage. But when from highmost pitch with weary car, like feeble age he reeleth from the day, the eyes fortuitous now converted are from his low track and look another way. So thou, thyself outgoing in thy noon, unlooked on, diest unless thou get a son. Let's wreck his written. First off, lo, in the Orient, when the gracious light lifts up his burning head. Lo means look or see, like lo and behold. Orient refers to Asia or the Far East. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So he's saying, look to the east when the sun is rising, or gracious light lifts up his burning head. Each under eye doth homage to his new appearing sight. Each under eye are the observers, eyes under the sun. They do homage meaning special honor or public respect. We are all happy to see a new day dawn. New appearing sight could also be birth, humans opening their eyes for the first time. Serving with looks his sacred majesty. Serving with looks, the sun serves looks, offering sight by light, connecting to a human life. In the beginning of life, everyone wants to see the baby. Also, in youth is when we are most beauteous. A synonym for majesty is beauty, and sacred means connected with God. We are God's children. Having climbed the steep up heavenly hill, the sun is climbing, rising in the morning. There's wordplay with heavenly and sacred. We've seen heavenly hill multiple times in our study of the Psalms. Steep likely refers to the sharp angle of the sun's movement, and another definition of steep is staircase or hill. So there is wordplay with steep hill. Resembling strong youth in his middle age. Going back to the human life metaphor, middle age would be our strongest, still feeling young. The sun's middle age is its peak, high noon. Mortal looks adore his beauty still. Mortal, human life. Humans adore both the beauty of a sunny day and of youth, attending on his golden pilgrimage. Golden being how we might describe the sun, and its daily movement a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is also a journey to a sacred place, continuing the godly theme. When from highmost pitch with weary car, I mentioned high noon, pitch would refer to musical pitch. A sound wave would have high and low points. Weary means tired, and car in the 1600s wouldn't be an automobile. Rather, Shakespeare uses car here and elsewhere to reference Apollo, Greek god of the sun, his chariot that carries the sun. From the top, like feeble age, he reeleth from the day. The human is getting older, past middle life, he reeleth from the day. Reeleth is worn out by fatigue. He's getting tired and going down. The eyes for duetus, now converted, are from his low track and look another way. Before the sun and man had a job to do, duetus, converted, changed, and look another way. It was going up, now going down. Look another way could also be how young people are looked on for their beauty, treating them with importance. With age, people look away, ignoring the elderly. Thyself outgoing in thy noon, the person is heading towards the end of life. Unlooked, people don't care about you anymore. Diest unless thou get a son. Because he is so obsessed with the topic, I had to look up if Shakespeare had kids. With his wife Anne, they had 3 children, the eldest, Susanna, and twins, Judith and Hamnet. Shakespeare had 4 grandchildren who all died without heirs. So there's no direct descendant to Shakespeare today, which is a shame because those royalties would be worth a lot. Moving on to rap, we've got a powerful words from a powerful rapper. This week's rap comes from Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes is in the building. His album, Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God, and song with the same title. Here is Busta Rhymes. Line up the subjects, I'm tired of injustice from the popes, politicians, and judges. When you witness the abuse of power, sometimes it's seductive. Then I question God, why create a creature that is so destructive? Hold all your grudges and focus while you create expanses. Every man is free of choice, but no man is free of consequences. Hold your suggestions and listen closely. I study lessons causing rain, hail, snow, and earthquake and travel dimensions. The ground will rattle, the earth will rumble like a stampede of cattle. 1,120 feet per second faster than sound travel. Time to break down the bars. This rap has an aggressive sound. I did my best to impersonate Busta Bus, and when practicing, the sound would instantly bring my baby to tears. As such, it touches on topics I won't go into detail on for fear of censor. Line up the subjects, I'm tired of injustice, rhymes, and makes me think he'd like to see these people on a firing line. I question God. Why create a creature that is so destructive? That is a question. I suppose the answer would be that man wasn't so bad at creation, but took actions that led to a fall because we were given free will, and the devil is a mighty temptation. While every man is free of choice, no man is free of consequences, which leads us to the situation we find ourselves in. The ground will rattle, the earth will rumble like a stampede of cattle. Ground will rattle, earth will rumble is a nice alliteration. Cattle and rattle start and end the line with a rhyme. 1,120 feet per second, faster than sound travel. 1,120 feet per second is said to be the speed of sound. We don't travel at feet per second, so let's convert miles to miles per hour. I should have an image on the screen. Now to walk through the conversion. On the left, we start with 1,120 feet for 1 second. Since we want miles per hour, miles will be on the top of the equation because when we have like terms on the top and the bottom, they cancel out. We know that 1 mile is equal to 5,200 feet. Easy to remember because 5 times 2 is 10, 0, and 2 plus 8 is 10. 5, 2, 8, 0. Multiplying by 1 over 5,280 is the same as saying divided by 5,280. Then we need to turn seconds into hours. So multiply 60 by 60 seconds in a minute and multiply 60 minutes in an hour, giving us about 760 miles per hour for the speed of sound. The speed of a 5.56 bullet coming out of an M4 is 2,900 feet per second, or almost 2,000 miles per hour. Since the object is traveling faster than sound, faster than the speed of sound, that means the sound waves moving forward bunch up and create what is called a sonic boom, or as Guile says, sonic boom. Busta Rhymes himself will tell you he only became who he is by doing his mathematics. The reason I wanted to cover this song in the first place is because of this next line. It's been a part of the plan, fool. They messed around and made the demasculation of man cool. This has been going on for the last couple decades, maybe all time, as a tyrant would like subjects that can't fight back. Now it's important for strong men to stand up and know what's right. Please take a moment to subscribe or follow the channel. All right, up next, we got the Wreck of the Week. Now, for our Wreck of the Week. What's wrecking King Cooper's week? Oil changes. I understand why engines need their oil changed, and I don't think electric motors are without problems. Both electric motors and engines are topics we should cover sometime. Engine is short for ingenious machine, and electricity is produced by spinning magnets that are wrapped with copper in circles. Wild world. But enough of that. It's such a hassle to get my car in. The place I went to had a "Sorry, we're closed" sign in the window, and the open neon light was turned off. So I thought they were closed. My queen convinced me to call them, and my first thought was to ask, "Are you open?" Which is, I think, would be confusing, as why would someone pick up the phone if they're closed? With all this wrecking, I need to calm down with some meditations. That's Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. We're up to number 14. From Severus, love of family, love of truth, love of justice, to have come by his help to understand Thracia, Helvidius, Cato, Dio, Brutus, to have conceived the idea of a balanced constitution, a commonwealth based on equality and freedom of speech, and of a monarchy which values above all the liberty of the subject. From him, too, a constant and vigorous respect for philosophy, beneficence, unstinting generosity, optimism. His confidence in the affection of his friends, his frankness with those who met with his censor, and open likes and dislikes so that his friends did not need to guess at his wishes. So to explain some of those lines, it starts off loving three things: family, truth, and justice. Love of family. I've said before, all we do is for the children, and Shakespeare seems to agree with his countless sonnets about kids. Love of truth. We act this out in a couple different ways. God being the way, truth. Also philosophy, literally meaning love of wisdom in Greek and Latin. Love of justice. It would be important for the emperor to be just, but how do we define justice? Well, it's a good thing. Justice comes after truth. If we have truth or pursue truth, we will be closer to knowing justice. Understand Thrasea, Helvidius, Cato, Dio, and Brutus. We'll go through those names one by one. Publius Claudius Thrasea Paetus was a wealthy and well-respected member of the Stoic opposition. Stoic opposition is the Stoic philosophers opposing status quo. He criticized Nero's tyrannical behavior and the collusion of the Senate. He was executed by Nero in 66 AD. Nero is also significant in the Bible. He killed many Christians, often in brutal ways. There's an argument that the mark of the beast, 666, refers to the Roman Emperor Nero. Previously, a viewer got annoyed at me reading the Bible. Even if you remove the religious aspect of the Bible, it is an important historical text. People in the past were being persecuted by a mad ruler, and they created a code to speak out against him. The story is documented in the Bible. That was Thrasea. Now, Helvidius Priscus was Thrasea's son-in-law and another member of the Stoic opposition. He was executed by the tyrannical emperor Vespasian. Cato of Utica was a famous Stoic who opposed Julius Caesar. He tried unsuccessfully to prevent Caesar from turning the Roman Republic into a dictatorship. Dio may refer to Dio Chrysostom, a Stoic-influenced rhetorician and philosopher. Rhetoric is basically language arts. He was exiled by Emperor Domitian for allegedly conspiring against his rule, which is why people needed codes to speak out against. Marcus Aurelius's nephew, Brutus, was influenced by Stoicism and Platonism, the philosopher Plato. He was one of the assassins of Julius Caesar. As Shakespeare wrote in his play Julius Caesar, Zime Zamboomafoo, Shakespeare, remember him? He said, "Et tu, Brute," Latin, but is the same spelling in modern French to say, "and you, Brutus?" Brutus on the beat, so it's not nice. Why would a Roman emperor want to understand people who opposed previous Roman emperors? Friends close, enemies closer. Next, valuable ideas. A balanced constitution, a commonwealth based on equality and freedom of speech, and a monarchy which values above all the liberty of the subject. Does any of that sound familiar? The American founding fathers certainly studied ancient Rome. E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one. It is written on the Great Seal of the United States. Continuing, a constant and vigorous respect for philosophy, beneficence, unstinting generosity, optimism. We covered philosophy with truth. Beneficence is doing good. Goes with generosity, kindness. Optimism would be seeing and believing in the future, in the good of the future. Confidence in the affection of his friends, frankness with those who met with his censor, and open likes and dislikes so that his friends did not need to guess at his wishes. I once told a therapist my wife is supportive, but she's supposed to be. And she reminded me that not all wives are. Don't discount the good. People don't have to be nice to you. So if they are, have confidence in their affection. Frankness with those meeting his censor. Censor is a formal disapproval. We covered before with Shakespeare how being frank means being free. Express yourself honestly with disagreement. Don't beat around the bush. Then people don't have to guess what you feel. You have said what you meant. That's enough for meditating. Moving on to This Week in History. On February 4th, 1789, George Washington was elected as the first president of the United States with 69 electoral votes. Nice. Electors from 10 of the 13 states would cast their vote for president. New York failed to fill a slate of electors. North Carolina and Rhode Island were unable to participate because they had not yet ratified the Constitution. Ratifying means making it their law. Washington was the obvious choice, with experience as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolution and president of the 1787 Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, each elector in the Electoral College possessed 2 votes. The candidate who received the majority of the votes was elected president. The candidate with the second most votes was elected vice president. John Adams finished with 34 electoral votes and became the first president of the United States. This Week in History. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a comment. I'd love for you to join the conversation. What up, chat? We got someone in the chat. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Just getting some water before we move on to the next section. Oh, you gotta brace yourself for this next one. You have to be coming in hot. We'll be reading the Bible next. Amen. 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 In Psalm number 6, David asks God for mercy and deliverance from suffering. The psalm begins with repentance and ends with confidence that God will intervene. This is Psalm number 6. O Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed, but thou, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. O save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave who shall give thee thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All the night make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. Mine eye is consumed because of grief. It waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity, for the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. This is the word of the Lord. To go through some verses on that, verse number 1 has, rebuke me not in thine anger. Rebuke means expressing disapproval. He is repenting, knowing he has done wrong by God's laws, and that he can't handle God's anger. Neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Hot, getting heated when angry. The definition of chasten says discipline, especially with God. I also think with hot displeasure, they could be used to branding with a hot rod of iron for discipline. In verse 2, have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am weak. Humans are weak. And even though he knows he's done wrong, he's asking for mercy and forgiveness, saying, heal me, for my bones are vexed. Vexed means having a problem. In verse 3, he asks, O Lord, how long? A popular question. How long must we endure? How long must we wait? These questions leave us vexed. In verse 4, O save me for thy mercy's sake. I connect this with people asking God to reveal himself or give me a sign, for mercy's sake, if you're really there. Also, with issues like God wouldn't let people get hurt if he was good and merciful, the mercy is coming. In verse 5, for in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave, who shall give thee thanks? Continuing his despair, all is over. Despite studying the Bible, I'm no theologian. I believe before Jesus, like the Old Testament, there was no thought of a heaven. God has shown his mercy, giving you life after death, everlasting. And Strong Lead Hook said, friend of the show, check out the YouTube channel, Strong Lead Hook said, do people believe in heaven today? And that messed me up. We're going to have an episode with him and Grizzy soon, but in verse 6, all the night make I my bed to swim, I water my couch with my tears. This is wrecking and rapping. He's figuratively crying so much he could swim in the waters. In verse 7, mine eye waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Viewers would be most familiar with the word waxeth when describing the phases of the moon, waxing and waning, gaining and subtracting. He's aged by worry. In verse 9, the Lord hath heard my supplication. Supplication means a humble appeal or begging. As the next line says, the Lord will receive my prayer. In verse 10, let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. The psalm started with him feeling vexed and ends with his enemies sore vexed. That his enemies should be ashamed. To go against King David is to go against God's plan. We can move on to philosophy. Did somebody say philosophy? We're reading the 50 philosophy ideas you really need to know. We're up to number 17, the experience machine. We're skipping number 16, ends and means, as it was covered on a previous episode. Suppose there were an experience machine that would give you any experience you desired. Super duper neuropsychologist could stimulate your brain so that you would think and feel you were writing a great novel or making a friend or reading an interesting book. All the time you would be floating in a tank with electrodes attached to your brain. Should you plug into this machine for life, pre-programming your life's desires? Of course, while in the tank, you won't know that you were there. You'll think it's all actually happening. Would you plug in? What else can matter for us other than how our lives feel from the inside? This should seem similar to Putnam's brain in a vat that we already covered, a discussion of consciousness that we are a brain in a vat of a body, only experiencing electrical impulses. In contrast, the experience machine is the question, if you could have a perfectly planned out life, would you? Is pain and suffering, in fact, part of a good life? People preferring a life where any success is earned is damaging to a hedonistic theory of ethics. Hedonism is the ethical theory that pleasure is the highest good. A more popular version is utilitarianism, founded by Jeremy Bentham in the 1700s. It is the view that actions should be judged right or wrong to the extent that they increase or decrease human well-being or utility. Summarized as the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Historically, utilitarianism is the most significant version of consequentialism, the view that actions should be judged right or wrong in light of their consequences. How does utilitarianism work? By math! Bentham called it philosophic calculus. Remember, Latin felix means happy. It's happy math. For where to get the numbers, there are varieties of utilitarianism. Direct utilitarianism is assessed in terms of the action's own contribution to utility. Rule utilitarianism is determined by reference to various sets of rules. An example of the difference would be hurting one innocent person to save many people. The direct effect is saving many. The rule utilitarian would see the act as wrong since hurting others breaks a rule. In the 1800s, J.S. Mill attempted to take utilitarianism further by adding higher and lower pleasures, believing there are some pleasures inherently more valuable than others, such as knowledge, honor, and achievement. Bentham's philosophic calculus used two variables to determine utility: duration and intensity. Mill added a third quality. Bentham declared if greater overall quantity of pleasure was produced by playing a game, it is more valuable than pursuits of intellect. However, Mills thought the life of Socrates, dissatisfied by execution, is better than that of a fool satisfied. For myself, I look back on my decision to join the army. It was a difficult time that left my body sorely vexed, still licking my wounds today. Was it the right thing to do? Well, I'm glad I signed my life over to Uncle Sam and would do it again, though differently with newfound knowledge. I'm not 17 anymore. Infantry. Oh hail, the infantry. Are you ready? We've got math. The numbers are 3, 8, 2, and 5. This one has sort of come up before where I had mentioned 3 times 8 is 24, but how do we get 3 8s? Well, 5 plus 3 equals 8, and then 2 times 8 equals 16. So 16 plus 8 equals 24. Woohoo! We've done it! I am the champion of the world. Final thought, don't worry about earthly deeds. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.